Hey guys, welcome back to the Record Room. I am, of course, your host, your old pal TG. And as I teased on a YouTube short earlier on this week, I have acquired what would probably be. It's not like my holiest of holy grails. Well, maybe it is. Maybe it is. Maybe I need to find another holy grail because something has come into the collection that I've wanted for a very long time. Something I'm very happy about. Something I did pay good money for. It's not like I got a smoking deal or anything. I paid for this record, but I believe it's worth every penny I paid for it. But I'm not going to go into how much I paid for it because price is arbitrary. Something is only worth what you are willing to pay. Now, I'll talk about my history with the record, and if you've already looked at the description, you'll know what it is. You'll know it's Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon. But this is an album that did not come into my life until, I want to say, I might have been 35, might have even been older. Pink Floyd was never a band that interested me in any way, shape, or form. In fact, I wouldn't say I actively disliked Pink Floyd, but I would never choose to listen to Pink Floyd's music. Although, in my younger days, I used to hang out with some friends, hang out on the weekend, play video games, And one of my friends, he had a best of Pink Floyd. I can't remember what it was called. It might have been Echoes or something like that. It was a 2 CD set that was the best of Pink Floyd. And I have to admit, I didn't hate it when I first heard it, but I never genuinely wanted to go and explore the band myself. And then all of that changed one year for Christmas. My wife said to me, if there's anything you would like for Christmas, and it had just been reissued at the time, Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon. Now, when did this come out? Was it 2016? So this is the stereo remastered album on heavyweight vinyl, 180 gram. Now, nothing special. I believe this is just, if you were to buy the record now, this is the version you would get. Or maybe you'd get the 50th anniversary now, but this is just a standard reissue of the album. Nothing fancy. It does come on heavyweight vinyl. It is very, very heavy. And this is, what a modern version of Dark Side of the Moon looks like. And I got this album, and I was super happy that I got it. I really enjoyed listening to this album. And then shortly after this, I ended up getting a copy of Wish You Were Here, which I also fell in love with. And then that went on, and I picked up Animals, and now, I do consider myself a bit of a Pink Floyd fan. But my history of the album kind of stopped and started. I had the album, and I was happy with it. I thought it sounded good, and I enjoyed the album. But then, I don't know what spurred it on, but I started going down the rabbit hole of different versions of the album and which one actually sounded best. Because that one always sounded pretty good. But I did wonder, how good can this album really sound? Because it already sounds fantastic. So I started looking at original versions, older versions of the album. And that's when I came across this version here. Now, this version is an older version, but this is actually, I believe this is the 5th repress of the album. So this one did come out probably in, the 70s, probably not long after the album was released, because they were pressing this thing like a mofo. It was selling in the bucket loads. But it doesn't have the solid blue triangle, and there are various reasons as to why this is, a more common version. But what's cool about this version, and one of the reasons why I did pick this one up, this one came with this insert. And this is The Dark Side of the Moon, A Piece for Assaulted Lunatics by Pink Floyd. And essentially what this is, these are lyrics to the song, or the songs on the album. And I believe this was given away or was included at live versions of the tour that Pink Floyd were doing. I think that's right. If I'm wrong, please do correct me. But it was so you could go, and it was kind of a program of sorts for those that saw Pink Floyd live at the time. And, little things like that do interest me. And so when I saw that, the album wasn't massively expensive. So I thought, I would like to have an older version of Dark Side of the Moon. It's got this nice little insert. Sign me up. I'll get that. And, I got the record home, cleaned it up, and it did sound pretty good. I was quite happy with it. And I thought, oh, okay, that's nice. And then, well, not too long ago, Pink Floyd celebrated the 50th anniversary of Dark Side of the Moon. And this is on heavyweight 180 gram vinyl. I don't know, genuinely, if there is any difference between this version and the other version. But we can actually check this out right here, right now. So this here, this one has 50th in the matrix. So this will be a different version from the standard 180 gram vinyl issue. So this may well be the version that you now get. And again, I enjoyed this. I got this. I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. It was a good sounding version of Dark Side of the Moon. Really did enjoy it. And then, when this was released, there was a box set released. Inside that box set, there were various bits and pieces that I didn't really need. But the one thing in there that I did want was Dark Side of the Moon live on vinyl. And lo and behold, not too long after the box set, Pink Floyd did release the album from it. Live at Wembley, 1974, recorded at the Empire Pool, Wembley, London. And so essentially what this is, it's the album live, but you also get, the cover's pretty cool because it's like the preliminary sketches, preliminary ideas for artwork on the album, which is pretty nice. And what's cool about this, I mean, when did this come out? It came out 2 years ago. I apparently bought this in HMV and it was only $22.99. Try finding an LP now for $22.99 in HMV. You will be hard pushed. The album does just come on black vinyl, but does come with a couple of posters, different posters from the original version, but you do get a couple of nice posters. There's that one. Let's have a look here. It's a nice tour poster as well. You got some tour dates there. Very nice. I think that's it. Did it come with anything else? Let's have a look. I don't remember because half the time, I put this stuff. I keep the stuff in the sleeve and I listen to the record. Once I've looked at a booklet or something, I tend to just put it to one side. So there you go. That's the live version of Dark Side of the Moon. And now I thought, well, I've got a reissue, I've got the 50th, I've got a fairly original pressing. Well, I'm done with Dark Side of the Moon. Until this version came out. Now, this is somewhat unique. There are other records that have done this, and this is a new process that is kind of, I don't want to say it's the hot new thing in vinyl, but other people are doing it. And this is a 50th anniversary collector's edition. And this is a picture disc record, but it printed on vinyl. So essentially what this is, it's a UV printed flip on the record. So it is vinyl on one side. On the other side is an image. So instead of a single disc LP, it's a 2-disc LP. Record 1 and record 2. Record 1 has side A, record 2 has side B. And each of the discs have their own image on the flip. So, as you can see there, it's clear vinyl with a picture. The flip is not playable. It's only the A side. So the A side is vinyl, has music, and sounds pretty good because picture discs, they do have that. They're not great because it is essentially a layer of PVC. You can't cut the grooves very deeply. So this is a way of getting a picture disc and actually having it sound pretty good. And these do sound good. I do remember actually enjoying listening to this. And it is cool, don't get me wrong. It is cool. It's cool in the same way that Project's Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon turntable is cool. It looks cool, but ultimately, at the end of the day, it's Dark Side of the Moon. It looks cool. Am I going to reach for the 2-disc version, or am I going to reach for the single disc version? Now, I believe this is actually cut at 33. And it's a shame because I think they could have cut this at 45. The album is under 45 minutes long. So I think they probably could have cut the album at 45. I might be wrong on that. So they missed a bit of a trick there. But now I'm done with Dark Side of the Moon. Time had passed. And then I happened to go record hunting, record digging with my father. He's also a big record collector. We were out and about one of the record stores near him. They have some pretty good stuff in there occasionally. I've picked stuff up from there and I've talked about it on this channel before. But then behind the counter, I spied this little puppy. And the thing that struck me was this little mark in the corner here that said Quadrophonic. Dark Side of the Moon was pressed on quad vinyl. And essentially what that means is if you have a quadrophonic stereo or had one, you would be able to enjoy this album in full quadrophonic sound. So quad is 4 speakers instead of the 2. But what's cool about this album is you can actually enjoy it on a regular stereo system as well. It's not like you can only hear half the music if you play it on a regular stereo system. No, you can actually play this on a stereo system. And I'll be honest with you, this one sounds pretty freaking awesome. This has been my go-to copy for a little while now. And I only had this for a couple of 3 weeks maybe before I acquired the Grailist of the Grail. I saw this. I got a good price on this. I did haggle over the price a bit, so that was pretty cool. But one of the things that I really enjoy about this record is the guy I got it from, I bought it, but he bought it from the owner who'd had it from day one, and it actually had the original receipt inside of it. Bought from Chapter 2 Records in Hinckley. I don't know when it was, but it looks like they paid £3.60 for this quad copy of Dark Side of the Moon. Now, I can tell you, I did not pay £3.60 for this. It was slightly more, but I'm very happy with it. It sounds fantastic. It really does. And I'll show it to you there. If you can see on the label, it does have the, what does it say? Is it SQ? Stereo Quadrophonic, I believe. But yeah, you can see there it has that little box, and it also says Quadrophonic on the label as well. And I don't have a quad system. Don't have any intention of getting one really, but to hear this album in quad, is that something I would love to do? You betcha it is. I would really love to hear this album in quad. Now, I had all of those, but in doing some research on Dark Side of the Moon over the years, I've always come across collectors, audiophiles that have always said, well, if you're a fan of Dark Side of the Moon, the one to get is the actual first press. The A2B2 Matrix is the best sounding version of this album. And to me, all of the copies of Dark Side of the Moon I have all sounded pretty great. But then the itch, the need in me was like, well, how good can it be? Can it really be that good that collectors around the world, audiophiles, are all saying the same thing? A2B2 is the one to have. Now, A2B2 being the very first press is not a cheap record. And this record was pressed many, many, many times, but there aren't a wealth of A2B2s out there. It was the stampers were updated fairly quickly. And so I have occasionally looked over the last year or so, probably ramped up that looking, but was never really, do I? And so it went on the Grail list. If I ever see it, if I ever come across it, if I can afford it, if the time is right, I'll know if the time is right. And I know sometimes this is it could be a weird, could be a thing that more record collectors do, but sometimes I can look at a record and know that's supposed to belong in my collection. And that's what happened with this copy of Dark Side of the Moon. This A2B2 first pressing of Dark Side of the Moon. I saw this, and as soon as I saw it, I knew that's my copy. This is going to be mine. And the guy I got this from, he wasn't the first owner, although he did show me the first copy he bought when he was a boy, which happened to be a third press. But he had stumbled across this, I think he said in a junk shop or an antique market or something, and he just had to have it. And the reason he had to have it was the same reason I had to have it. One, it's regarded as the best sounding copy. Two, it is complete. It has all of the parts that it's supposed to have, which I will show to you now, because this album came with inclusions, and luckily for him and for me, the person that had this originally didn't do anything with those inclusions, left them inside the sleeve. So we'll take a look here. This is a true blue first pressing of Dark Side of the Moon, and I'm not sure how well it will come across on screen here, but this is actually a pretty tasty copy of the album. I mean, it's nice and shiny. I did give it an ultrasonic bath and it did clean up and it does sound good. I actually recorded this onto cassette and I went for a wander in the woods yesterday, literally listening to this on cassette. I do still love cassettes, and I have a nice Walkman and a nice tape deck, so I was able to make a very nice cassette transfer of this, and I went for a walk, listened to the album back to front, literally after listening to it to record it. Just perfection, just absolute perfection. This is such an incredible album. If you've never heard Dark Side of the Moon, you can stream it 8 million ways. I urge you to check it out. But let's look at what actually came with an original copy of Dark Side of the Moon. So this is if you would have purchased this day one. This is how the album would have come. Came in a gatefold sleeve. So let's have a look at the gatefold. This is the gatefold. And this is, or has been, should I say, reproduced many times. So seeing a gatefold version of this is not crazy. But what is cool about this is the inclusions. At least I think they're very cool. Because even though you do come across them, and I have other versions of this LP, the stereophonic version, the quadrophonic version came with the inclusions. And they are cool, but having them here in this first press is something special. So the album itself, upon release, came with 2 stickers and 2 posters. This is sticker number 1, and this has the fast print or fast print backing. I believe there are a couple of different variations on the sticker manufacturing. That's the second one. And again, it's a fast print crackback. Now, these stickers are 50 years old now. So what's cool is they are in remarkable shape. Whoever had this literally put it away. They listened to the album plenty. You know, there are a few pops and clicks. But on a 50-year-old album, I am not going to complain. But they didn't put the posters up. Yes, there are some spotting marks from age because they are 50. But they have barely been unfolded. And so here we go. This is one of the posters which shows the pyramids, blue pyramids. Show that there. And you know, it has that old smell. Maybe it's me. It does have that old smell, which I really love. And here is the second one, which is an image of the band. Again, has some age spotting, but really, honestly, these posters are in absolutely perfect condition. And as I said, I do have other versions that have these posters, so I may actually end up framing a set of these. Finding them with the posters, nice. Very, very nice. I was very happy about that. But one thing you never ever see, at least I've hardly ever seen it, is the original polylined inner sleeve. And what's cool about this is you can see actually down here in silver print, it actually says it has the patent number and made in Great Britain. in the silver print. Now, I don't know many records that came like that, but whoever had this has clearly loved and taken care of this record for as long as it's had its life. And now I am truly grateful to add this to my collection. Am I done buying copies of The Dark Side of the Moon? Absolutely. I will not be buying any more copies of The Dark Side of the Moon because I don't need to. I now have my grailiest of grails until I find another grail. But adding that to my collection has genuinely put a big smile on my face. So there you have it, guys. My Holy Grail is now in the collection. How about you? What are your grails out there? Please do let me know in the comments down below. And are you a fan of the album Dark Side of the Moon? Have you never heard it? I would love to hear from someone who's never actually heard Dark Side of the Moon. Because honestly, it took me 30+ years to even listen to it myself. And yeah, I liked it, but I wasn't blown away. But then it grew and it grew and it grew and it grew. And now I have multiple copies. I've spent multiple pounds, but I am very happy. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode of The Record Room. Please leave a like if you have, and if you haven't already subscribed, please do consider doing so. It does help the channel grow. But until next time, stay gold and spin those blackest circles.